The world's oldest bourbon sold for $137,000. The world's oldest bourbon whiskey sold for $137,000 at auction. Skinner Auctioneers, who watched the bid process, said the bottle, better known as Old Ingledew Whiskey, was most likely leaked between 1763 and 1803 after passing carbon-14 dating tests. Skinner Hyman, perfume expert, said, "Sampling and carbon dating confirmed an 81.1% chance that the bourbon was produced between 1763 and 1803. This can be seen in the historical context of the War of Independence and the Whiskey Rebellion of the 1790s. Whiskey is bottled from department stores like Johnnie Walker Scotch, not from distilleries destroyed during the war." Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the world's oldest bourbon whiskey that sold for $137,000 in an auction. But before we get into that, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Also hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we post a new video. So let's jump right into it. Food and Wine magazine reports that a bottle of 250-year-old whiskey sold for $137,000. The publication also states that it was once associated with the legendary American financier J.P., reported to be owned by Morgan. According to Skinner Auctioneers, the bourbon is the oldest whiskey in existence. The front of the Old Ingledew whiskey bottle is marked with whiskey from LaGrange, Georgia. On the back is a note taped to the glass that is written, "This bourbon was probably made before 1865. Skinner Auctioneers said they removed a small sample of the liquid with a needle and sent it to a specialist for testing. An analysis of carbon-14 taken at the University of Georgia and an assessment by the University of Glasgow concluded that the whiskey was distilled between 1763 and 1803, with a 53% chance, Revolutionary Wars and rebellion of whiskey in the 1790s. However, the study also showed that the 1820s equivalent of a whiskey was dated to 195 years. This is older than an 1847 bottle of Baker's Pure Rye Whiskey, which is now listed in the Guinness Book of Records as the oldest famous whiskey in the world. There is no record of the Old Ingledew brand, but the whiskey was probably bottled in the 1860s by Evans and Rangland, called Grocers and Consignments in LaGrange, Georgia. Old Ingledew may have belonged to a grocery store. The bottle, known as the world's oldest whiskey, has sold more than expected. According to CNN, the Old Ingledew whiskey pen sold for an astounding $137,500 on Wednesday, following an active offer from Skinner Auctioneers. The price of the whiskey destroys the $20,000 to $40,000 that the spirit was expected to sell before it was sold. Do you know why this bottle is nearly $100,000 more expensive than expected? That one reason is its age. Whiskey has long been thought to date back to 1850, but recent laboratory tests at the University of Georgia and the University of Glasgow showed that the whiskey is much older. They took a liquid sample from the bottle and tested it for charcoal. The results showed that between 1763 and 1803, there was an 81.1% chance that the whiskey was bottled, which can be seen in the historical context of the War of Independence and the Whiskey Uprising. This special Old Ingledew bottle has an interesting backstory. It was owned by Wall Street financier John Pierpont Morgan, founder of J.P. Morgan Chase & Co. Barron said he bought the whiskey on a dealing tour to Georgia. However, he was far from the only known bottle owner. Later, the bottle was gifted to future U.S. Supreme Court justices and South Carolina Governor James Burns in the early 1940s by his son Jack. Jack gave Franklin D. 2 more bottles. Roosevelt, they were distant relatives, and Harry S. Truman. Skinner's rare alcoholic beverage expert Joseph Hyman said there was only 1 bottle left on sale this week. While the final price of a bottle of Times is shocking, it's not uncommon for a pack to sell more than 3 times the estimated price. But that doesn't make Old Ingledew the most expensive whiskey in the world. This is far from the truth. The name now belongs to the 1926 Macallan Fine and rare 60-year-old bottle, which sold for $1.9 million in 2019. But what about the oldest names in the world? This only applies to this disease and this disease. The label on the back of the bottle, which Burns claims to have added, it is known that there were no bourbon factories in Georgia after the Civil War. Financier, collector, and patron John Pierpont Morgan was a dominant figure on Wall Street in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It was the third bottle that came up for auction after a former congressman, Supreme Court judge, and South Carolina governor handed it over to Woolbright's grandfather, his neighbor and family friend Logan Drake. He later said that the only reason Garden and Gun didn't open the bottle and toast a few years ago was that his family prefers whiskey. The origins of the liquid and the new owner of the bottle and its purpose remains a mystery. So that's all for today's video. Let us know your thoughts on such an expensive bottle of whiskey. Tell us in the comments section below. I hope that you found the video interesting. If you did find it interesting and informative, please like and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to give your valuable feedback in the comments section below. We'll see you in the next video with some more interesting information and facts. And until then, stay tuned.